Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today, we're going to be going over one of the items that was changed in 1.5.0. A lot of the unique items got updated, and this one in particular definitely got some sick updates. I'm not really sure if they're really worth using yet, but they're pretty impressive. And that is Gohr's Devastating Grips. First off, let's go over the stats, and then we'll talk about the special effects and some of the other things. So we have 10.5 to 15% increased attack speed, which is really nice. And they did, in fact, fix Whirlwind so that it actually works with attack speed now. So that's also very interesting. So if you're trying to beef up Whirlwind, one of the ways that you can beef up Whirlwind is definitely to spin faster so that you're attacking faster, obviously. On top of this, we also get movement speed bonus on these gloves. I think this is the only pair of gloves in the game that has movement speed bonus, now that I think about it, which is 8 to 12.5% increased movement speed. Of course, it makes sense because when you're whirlwinding around, you kind of want to get a little bit of movement speed, in play, so that you're kind of, doing your little thing. Because the faster you can move, the faster you can whirlwind. Right now, I'm not exactly whirlwinding at the fastest pace. So having a little bit of movement speed certainly would be bad. It also has a 13.5 to 22.5% critical strike chance against close enemies. And it actually goes up really high with a greater affix of 33.7% critical strike chance against close enemies, which is kind of insane. Because, I mean, I'm currently at, what am I at? 36.2, right? So as soon as I put these gloves on, and of course I'm always going to be close because I'm a melee character, I'm just going to go up from 36.2 to, what is that, 69 point, actually 70, like 70% basically. 70% critical strike chance almost immediately at putting on the gloves. I was talking about these when they first were released. We were just kind of like going over them, and it kind of occurred to me that despite the fact that they're whirlwind gloves, obviously, that huge critical strike chance could be very interesting on any character, even if you're not using whirlwind. On top of this, it also has plus 3 to 5 ranks in whirlwind itself, which of course will help to get your whirlwind damage up. Although whirlwind isn't really the best damage ability. It doesn't really do the most amazing damage itself. It's usually a delivery method for other things. And speaking of delivery method for other things, the unique effect. So Whirlwind explodes every 2 seconds after it ends, dealing 40 to 70% of its base damage dealt to surrounding enemies as fire damage. And there's a bunch of fire damage stuff on the Barbarian. I don't know why there's so much fire damage stuff. There's Upheaval, which does fire damage, and it also has burning, damage to burning enemies. There's a Berserking aspect, which gives you just fire damage, burning everything around you as you're berserking, which probably could come in handy with this. And there's a bunch of different crazy stuff with the Barbarian that has fire damage on it. So I guess you could probably stack it up maybe if you wanted to, or go for non-physical damage. But basically how this works is that while you're whirlwinding, as you whirlwind, you're going to get this explosion, which is going to happen. And the explosion that happens is just going to do damage. And that explosion is going to happen every 2 seconds, essentially, for every single second that you're using the whirlwind. There's also some aspects that will, of course, increase the damage of your whirlwind for the time that you're in your whirlwind. So just having it so that you can whirlwind forever is definitely very nice. On top of this, it used to this weapon used to be this unique item used to be one of the most overpowered uniques back in I think it was season 2 or something like that, or season 1, I can't remember, because it would scale almost infinitely, and that was actually why it was so broken. They nerfed it several times, and then honestly nobody touched it again after they nerfed it several times. This has been, I don't even know how many changes to this item that there's been, and I'm not exactly sure that the 70% base damage is really enough, especially with the way that they currently have it. I don't think they understood that the infinite scaling was what was making it overpowered, not the base damage of it. They should basically just return it to its previous value and take away the infinite scaling, and I think it would be fine. But as a pair of gloves, I mean, who doesn't like 15% increased attack speed, 33.7% damage or critical strike chance against close enemies, 12.5% movement speed? I mean, they're fairly nice gloves, just as a pair of gloves to throw on pretty much any character. And then, of course, they also enhance Whirlwind specifically and give you an additional effect with Whirlwind, which is going to create additional damage as you're using the ability. Because obviously as you're doing the whirlwind normally, you just get each individual attack as you're hitting the target.
Mr. Goody Two Shoes, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Ginger Evil Mentor here. Why bother farming when you can go to MMOEXP.com and simply purchase your items in gold? GGM would have you farm the items. What a pathetic being. Use code GEM Ginger Evil Mentor for 6% off your entire purchase. And don't tell Ginger Gaming Mentor that I was here.
Whereas when you're using Gohr's Devastating Grips, you of course get the explosions constantly happening, which are going to dish out additional damage. And the additional damage is basically just going to be another hit, but it's an AoE hit that hits everything around you. There could potentially be better gloves for Whirlwind than this. And I think one of the main issues with Whirlwind is it really just doesn't do a massive amount of damage on its own. I'd love to play around with Whirlwind one day and just see if I can make like a pure Whirlwind build. But everything that has to do with Whirlwind these days is usually involving something else. Like doing Whirlwind and getting like Bleed Whirlwind, or using Whirlwind and using the Dust Devils for damage. Or, you know, using Whirlwind and having like some sort of lucky hit build or something where you're just like getting tons of lucky hit bonuses and you're proccing effects. I mean, there's tons of fun things that you can do since you're moving and attacking at the same time. And you can also just simply use it in your builds to have channeling effects. There's also a huge thorns bump that you can get while channeling, which you could potentially use Whirlwind for. Like I said, it seems to always be just like a delivery method, not so much the main attack. Which is kind of interesting when you think about it, because even the thorns aspect, like you have this aspect that gives you a huge amount of thorns while you're channeling. Whirlwind acts as a channel, and you can of course stack huge amounts of thorns by just simply using Whirlwind to channel. You just go for a Whirlwind where you can maintain your fury constantly, and then you don't really have to worry about it. The flavor text on these says, the brutish construction of these gloves belies the strength they bestow. Gohr was clearly no craftsman, but it would be foolish to ignore the triumphs of his work, Barrett's Book of Implements. Now, while I do think that these gloves are better than they have been in the past, and obviously if you found a really nice 4-grade graphics one, you could get some pretty crazy attack speed, some pretty crazy movement speed, some pretty crazy critical strike chance, and also quite a few ranks to your Whirlwind ability. I'm not entirely sure if they are still the best in, or if they ever have been best in slot for Whirlwind since they got nerfed. You might just be better off with something else. Don't know. One of these days I'm gonna have to just like try to build like a full Whirlwind Barb just for fun, just to see if it's possible. Just, you know, not using Dust Devils and not using, you know, like the bleed side of things, but just trying to get like the Whirlwind damage itself as high as I possibly can. And I don't really think it's going to be the greatest build in the world, but we just, you know, see how far we can take it. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, if you're looking to get your hands on the Gohr's Devastating Grips, you can check out our target farming tool. All the uniques are on here, and we've got Gohr's Devastating Grips on the list, of course, which should be right there. Barbarian Gloves. And as you can see, they drop from Echo of Arshan and Lord Zir if you're trying to farm yourself a really nice pair. There's a lot of good items that drop from Lord Zir this season. I like the Fractured Winter Glass. And I guess that if you're farming with your sorceress buddy, maybe you can get your hands on a nice pair of Gohrs. I hate to sound like I'm at a loss for words, but it's not that the gloves are bad. It's just that I guess maybe this is an underlying problem with Whirlwind, not so much an underlying problem with the Gohr's Devastating Grips, because I feel like the Gohr's Devastating Grips are very good now. I mean, the critical strike chance that they give you, the attack speed bonus they give you, the movement speed bonus they give you, the extra skills, they're very well itemized. Maybe the damage on the Whirlwind Explodes could be higher, but it's not necessarily, I think, that the Gohrs are bad. I think it's that Whirlwind is bad. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining me for these videos, even when we're just talking about Gohr's Devastating Grips. If you enjoy the videos, be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. And as always, keep watching.